You cannot grasp the wind. If you try to trap it, it slips through your fingers. But if you surrender to it, it lifts you. This is the nature of air. And this is the quiet mastery of detachment. In a world that worships obsession over goals, over people, over outcomes, detachment is very, very misunderstood. We've been taught that detachment means coldness, that to want something without gripping it tightly, as if your life depended on it, is somehow a weakness. But detachment is not apathy. Detachment, it's just purity of focus. It is the power to love without possession, to dream without desperation, to move through life without becoming stuck to any of it. Like air, detachment is very, very subtle, but it is also breath. Neville Goddard, one of the clearest minds in metaphysical thought, New Age thought, said that the key to creation lies in self-abandonment. He says you must abandon yourself to the state of your wish fulfilled and not just entertain it. He didn't say to force the vision. He didn't say to repeat it like some sort of desperate chant. He used the word abandon. Let go of your former self like a snake likes to shed its skin without any fear of repercussion, and become the new version of yourself completely, and then release the how and the when. In one of his lectures, Neville shared a story of a man who wanted a promotion. And so each night, as by the practice of SATS, or state akin to sleep, this man would imagine lying in his bed as the promoted version of himself, not wishing, not begging, but assuming it was already true, feeling the satisfaction of it. He would do this as he lay in bed, and then he would let it go. He didn't chase, he didn't check, he just simply moved through life as if that version of him already existed. And you can already imagine how this story ends, but just days later, his promotion came. Not through effort, not through convincing, but through state. A very beautiful word, through state, through air, that invisible shift of being. It is not what you want that you attract. You attract what you are conscious of being. Detachment in Neville's work was not the absence of desire. It was just the refusal to choke said desires with that ugly little vibration of need. This same wisdom echoes through the voice of one of my favorite philosophers, Alan Watts. He says, muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. In another talk, he compared desire and manifestation to the paradox of holding water. Now, with water, if you try to grip it tightly, it will slip away, always. But if you just let your hand float, open and relaxed, the water will rest, always in the palm of your hand. We do this with goals, in love, in identity. We try to squeeze life into shape, and in doing so, we choke it. Air, much like life, cannot be squeezed. Air and life needs space. Energy and matter needs space to form new things, to form new life. Everything you see around you is just an illusion of solidity. At the atomic level, matter is almost entirely empty space. Atoms, the building blocks of all physical form, are 99.9999999% nothing. 99.99999% space. The nucleus is unimaginably small, and the electrons orbit it like distant planets around the sun, leaving vast gulfs of space. In between, what we call solid is mostly energy and vibration, held together by invisible forces. You and I are not solid. We are structured space, momentarily organized into form. You are pretending to be bone. You are light pretending to be mass. Detachment is that space. It is the oxygen that allows a fire to burn. It is the pause between breaths that bring us peace. It is the necessary space between heavenly bodies that allow orbit and not collision. It's the condition required to create life. To create life into your desires. Jack Kornfield, a renowned Buddhist teacher, puts it very, very simply. He says to let go does not mean to get rid of. To let go means to let be. So it's not about suppressing your emotions, and it's not about pretending you don't care. It's about loosening the grip just enough to let what you want in. Remember that time when the thing that you wanted came to you effortlessly? That friend you thought was upset with you finally called you when you stopped worrying about it. Or the opportunity that you wanted, or you never even saw coming. It just came to you when you finally stopped worrying about it and took a nap. Or that text that you were looking forward to from that special someone finally pinged on your phone when you stopped refreshing it. You put your phone on silence for a second and just took a nap. That was air. That was detachment in motion. That was creation. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and also a Stoic philosopher, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Now, Aurelius, even as he led armies and ruled over an empire, he practiced emotional detachment. And this was not because he did not care, but because he knew that freedom lies in response, not in reaction. He learned to breathe through chaos, to observe his thoughts just like clouds passing through the sky, to master himself and not his world. Again, we find air. We grip things because we think that they'll save us. We cling to relationships and labels, even pain and trauma, because you know what? At least it's familiar. But detachment asks us to just trust the formless. Detachment asks us to believe that what is meant for us will stay and what isn't was never really ours. And that doesn't mean that you stop wanting. It just means that you stop begging. You want lightly. You breathe into your desire and then you let the wind carry it. Air is invisible, but it does carry things. It moves things. Wind. And detachment is the same. It's that silent force behind true power. Not inaction, but it's intelligent surrender. It's not indifference as we've been taught to understand it, but it's wise spaciousness. When you finally release your grip on the world, your grip on the outcomes, the world begins to move in your favor. The outcomes begin to reflect your favor. So don't cling, don't fight, just breathe. I'm asking you to just trust, to just move, to let go. And this is the philosophy of air. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams. Playfulness is often dismissed as frivolity. Yet, when we examine the essence of creation, we find that true innovation and transformation arise from a spirit of joyful experimentation. The element of air reminds us that reality is not a block of rigid stone. It's more like a fluid, moldable clay. And in this dance with possibility, playfulness becomes a sacred act of creation, a way to approach life with lightness and the freedom to explore without limitation. Channeled teacher Bashar, channeled through Daralanka, emphasizes that our reality is shaped by our vibration, our excitement, and our willingness to be playful with what we think is fixed. In one memorable Q&A session, a participant asked Bashar why their manifestations were so inconsistent, and Bashar's reply was both simple yet incredibly profound. He said, "Act on your highest excitement with zero insistence on outcome." This response encapsulates the essence of play. It is not about forcing a predetermined result, but about engaging with life's possibilities with an open heart. Imagine clay in your hands for a moment. If you force it into shape by brute strength, it will resist. It cracks or it just loses its essence altogether. But if you handle it gently, playfully, allowing the clay to show its natural malleability, you reveal forms that were hidden within that lump of clay all along. Bashar's teachings urges us to see our desires not as burdens we must forcefully shape, but as invitations to play, a natural, joyful process of becoming. The philosopher Nietzsche spoke passionately about the inner child. It's a symbol of our uninhibited creative core. He believed that the purest form of creation originates in the heart of the child, who approaches the world with wonder, curiosity, and most importantly, playfulness. The child is innocence and forgetting, a new beginning, a desire, a hope, a dream. When we allow ourselves to access that inner child, we set aside the hardened layers of expectation and fear. Instead, we enter a space where possibility reigns, and every action is an experiment in transformation. The child sees the world not as a challenge to be overcome or fixed, but as a playground where every moment is a chance to create anew. Truly, I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of God. Let's consider for a moment the great polymath Leonardo da Vinci. Not only was he an artist and an inventor, but he also infused playfulness into his work. When sketching ideas for these flying machines or when he was reimagining the human body, he wasn't solely driven by the need for perfection. Da Vinci played with forms and ideas as if he were just doodling, just for the sheer delight of discovery. His notebooks are filled with sketches that exude a sense of joyful curiosity. This is a testament to the power of treating creative processes like play, and whether or not you identify as a creative, you are creating your desires into your own life. Back to Bashar for a moment. He's a teacher that I really admire. And during one of his lectures, there was a woman who struggled to manifest a career change. And despite her hard work and her determination, nothing really seemed to shift or stick. During one of these sessions, when she posed her frustrations, Bashar gently reminded her, when you are too serious about manifesting, you block the very energy you wish to attract. Simply put, we're too serious. We take things, especially the things that we love, the things that would induce feelings of joy and ease and peace and lightness and freedom. Those things, we take them far too seriously. So this woman, after following his advice, she began to integrate play into her daily routine instead of feeling burdened by the weight of her desires. She dedicated time each day to a random activity that she loved, which just happened to be painting whimsical, abstract art without any goal or expectation, just painting random paintings. And slowly, the act of play recharged her energy, and opportunities began to flow effortlessly. Without the constant pressure to produce a particular outcome, Her joyful creative energy attracted unexpected offers and breakthroughs in her career, and she finally got what it was that she was looking for that whole time. Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance. The philosophy of playfulness is supported not only by contemporary teachings, but it's also supported by ancient wisdom as well. Lao Tzu says a good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent on arriving. I personally love that quote. I love to take random road trips, and I can vouch for it. It's very true. It's not about the destination, it really is about the ride there. This sense of unattached, experimental journeying aligns with playfulness, an openness to experience that does not insist on a specific outcome. In this spirit, playfulness becomes a state of being where joy and curiosity override the compulsion for control. It is about embracing uncertainty as an inherent part of creation. This is the counterintuitive idea that to create is to surrender to the wonder of the present moment, the fluidity of the now, the fluidity of the presence, and the joyous freedom that arises when you treat life as an experiment, just a game where the rules are simply there to guide you and not to bind you. Commit to at least 10 minutes a day of pure, unstructured play. This could be doodling without a plan, dancing to your favorite music, engaging in spontaneous wordplay. I don't know, just play. Allow your mind to wander and explore without judgment. Even visualizations and daydreams and SATs and affirmations and acting as if can all be formulated as play. Act as if your desired reality is already here. This too is play. But when you act as if, do so with a sense of wonder and curiosity. If you seek a creative career, dress for a creative role. Get fun. Have some fun with your fashion sense, with your style. Speak with confidence and do something fun that a creative professional might do. Even if you're not there yet, just let play be your practice ground for manifesting. Playfulness is inherently intertwined with detachment. By treating your reality like clay and engaging with it in a joyful, experimental manner, you naturally detach from the anxiety of needing it to be a certain way. Instead, you open yourself to the unexpected, the surprising, and the magical elements that often escape us when we're weighed down by rigid expectations. Abraham Hicks says to desire lightly. I really like that. Desire lightly. When you release the neediness, you align with the frequency of joy and let the universe bring you what you want. Desire lightly. This is the core of manifesting with ease, of effortless manifesting. When your heart is light, when you dance with the possibility and the spontaneity of life, you begin to attract synchronicities that no rigid plan could ever conjure. As you embrace playfulness, please remember that you are not trivializing your aspirations. You are just empowering yourself to engage with the world in a way that allows true creativity of life to arise. The energy of play is potent. It disrupts stale patterns and it invites innovation. Kind of like a joyful breeze, it carries away the heaviness of life and it leaves behind a space for magic to unfold. Bashar's teachings, the wisdom of Nietzsche, the playful wonder of Da Vinci, they all point to the same truth. It's the secret to a vibrant, fulfilling reality. It shows that it lies not in force, but in lightness, in airiness. So treat your desires as invitations to play, as opportunities to experiment with the very fabric of existence itself. Air doesn't resist the storm. It doesn't wrestle with or critique or find fault with gravity. It just simply rises above. And of all the elemental metaphors we've covered so far, air holds the clearest lesson for the human soul. We are not here to control every circumstance. We are here to shift our state. We are here to elevate beyond chaos. We are here to be the sky and not the storm. The philosophy of air asks, when the world trembles around you, can you stay light? Not light as in naive, but light as in unburdened, unbothered, unstuck, unattached to the debris on the ground. To rise above is not spiritual bypassing. It is an ancient form of self-liberation. In countless workshops, Abraham Hicks, Abe, has emphasized a surprising idea to some. The best way to receive what you want is to be okay without it. I love that. This is not indifference. This is not weak surrender. It's joyful neutrality. When you no longer need it, it can come. When you release the resistance, it flows. In one memorable seminar, a woman asked Abe, "Hey Abe, how do I manifest a loving relationship if I've been wanting one for years? How does that work?" Abe says, "Don't make the absence of it your dominant vibration. Make the presence of joy, alignment, fun your priority. The relationship is just one path to joy, but joy is available now." This is rising above. This is shifting your perspective from I'll feel good when I have it to I'll feel good because I choose to, even without it. The moment you no longer demand that reality bend to your timeline, you align with something much, much, much more powerful than willpower. You align with flow. You align with the energies. You align with creation, with life itself. Like air, you learn to float above frustration and you trust the path that is unfolding. No one articulated the philosophy of inner altitude more powerfully than Viktor Frankl. For those of you who are unaware, Viktor Frankl is a Holocaust survivor, a neurologist, and he was the author of that book, A Man's Search for Meaning, which is where I first learned about him. While imprisoned in Auschwitz, surrounded by unimaginable suffering and cruelty, Viktor made a discovery that would become the foundation of his life's work. He says, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Even in unimaginable pain, Frankl discovered that the mind actually does have some wings. You don't have to be here. That rising above does not mean escaping reality. It just means choosing a different, higher vantage point that restores your humanity. He wrote about a moment in the concentration camp where he envisioned his wife's face in his mind and was suddenly lifted from his suffering. And he described it very beautifully, just like this. He says, "I understood how a man who has nothing left in this world still may know bliss in the contemplation of his beloved." That is beautiful. And this is air. It's that invisible, quiet inner shift. It's that liberation that no one can see, but it really does change everything. In the Taoist tradition, rising above isn't about effort, rather it's about alignment, another beautiful word. Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching teaches the concept of Wu Wei. I've taught about this before, I absolutely love it. Wu Wei is effortless action, or it's doing without doing. Quite the paradox there. He says the master allows things to happen. She shapes events as they come. She steps out of the way and lets the Tao speak for itself. To rise above in Taoism is to flow around obstacles like wind around a mountain. It's not avoidance, it's just wise movement. When you stop fighting the river, you begin to float, as we learned in the philosophy of water. And from that height, you can see options that force and fear could have never, ever revealed. Rising above doesn't mean denying your reality. It just means widening your view of it. From the ground, the mountain looks impossible, insurmountable. But from above, it's just a bump in the terrain, widening your view of reality, widening your perspective. When you're in a plane, in the middle of a storm, the turbulence can feel quite terrifying. But then we rise above the clouds, above the storm, and suddenly we're in sunlight again, even though the storm is still happening below us. That's what a shift in your state is. That's exactly what it will feel like and be like for you. Things may still be happening, but you're in the sunlight, kid. It's not the absence of problems. It's just that the altitude that you've now chosen makes those problems irrelevant, which again is another beautiful word. Your higher self doesn't deny the chaos. It doesn't really have to. It just rises above it. That's the path of least resistance. It just observes it. It just chooses a brand new narrative. Path of least resistance, as taught to us by Abraham Hicks. You are the sky, and everything else, it's just the weather. This is a really fun practice for you. It's fun for me. But I want you to write down your top 3 current stressors. Go ahead and name it, Give it some attention. You already are. So go ahead and write it down and ask yourself, if I were already living my dream life, would this even register? Would this be relevant? And then act from that version of yourself. Would this even matter to you in 1 year, 5 years, or 10? The things that plague you cannot remain as matter if to you, they just really don't matter. If you just forget to care about why it's relevant. If you just let it go emotionally and mentally. If it doesn't really matter to you, they cease to exist. Rising above is not about becoming unreachable. It's about becoming more unshakable. To be air is to be free from the stickiness of physical circumstances. To be wind is to move between moments lightly with presence. I am here type of presence. To be the sky is to allow every emotion, every thought, every storm to pass without letting it become you. Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, just let life live through you. Float higher than the noise. Choose the clarity of air over the gravity of reaction. You go ahead and let the world spin, let it do its thing. And you stay above it all, still, risen. Enlightenment is when a wave realizes it is the ocean. I love that one. And I love philosophy. Philosophy is beautiful. But philosophy without practice, it's kind of like air without breath. It's present, it's totally there, but it's unrealized. And so this final chapter of this final video of this whole elemental series, water, fire, earth, and now air, is the blueprint. You are not just made of stars. You are made of seasons, of storms, and of stillness. You're made of fire, of floods, of breath, of roots. You were never meant to be just one thing, not always grounded, not always rising, not always burning, not always even soft, not always. You were meant to move between states, to shift like the weather, to evolve like the land, to surrender like the tide, to float like the wind. This has been the philosophy of becoming. This has been the elemental life. A life where you know when to dig your heels into earth, when to let fire burn what no longer fits, when to weep like water until you find clarity again, and when to laugh with the air and trust the unfolding, to live as a whole human, unfragmented, unapologetic, thoroughly, absolutely alive. Earth was your beginning. That was the moment you realized that becoming takes time. So you learned to be still, to grow deep instead of wide, to bloom when it was time, not when others demanded it. You honored the slowness of stone. You bowed to the trees that took decades to stretch their arms. The creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn. And in earth you learned that being grounded doesn't mean being stagnant. It means being sure of yourself. Even when nothing moves, you became your own foundation. And then came fire. A season where stillness turned to rage, where longing became too loud to ignore. Fire taught you how to destroy gently, how to burn the masks, the expectations, the outdated names you answer to. You learned that pain isn't punishment. Pain, it's just purification, that every version of you that had to die was fuel for something holier. And then the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to bloom, to blossom. You stopped asking for permission. You lit the match. You walked through the flames of your former life and came out clean, like the phoenix. Fire is the part of you that remembers you are allowed to want more. But the burn could not last forever, so you entered water. That's the season of flow, of grief sometimes and of trust all the time. Water taught you that soft does not mean weak, that it's okay to break down, to become the sea and start again. You stopped resisting the tide. You stopped swimming against yourself. You do not drown by falling in the water, honey. You drown by staying there. So you floated, you forgave, you allowed yourself to be moved, not by force, but by feeling. You became the stream that curves around the mountains, the tears that baptized your next beginning. You don't have to fight to move forward. Sometimes you just have to let go, and water reminded you of that. And then came the air. The softest season, the most invisible shift. Air taught you that you don't need to grip everything to keep it. That detachment is not loss, it's just trust. And you laughed again, and you lightened your step. You stopped trying to sculpt your life like marble and started playing with it like clay. Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance. Air gave you breath again. It showed you that joy has an open hand, that pleasure doesn't weigh you down. It lifts you. You realize that the highest vibration is lightness. You are not only earth. You are not only fire. You are not only water. You are not only air. You are the whole system. I contain multitudes. To become whole is not to be perfect. It is to know when to call on which part of yourself. Some days you will be grounded, and some days you will be wild, and some days you will flow, and other days you will fly, and all of it is sacred. All of it is necessary for your becoming. The universe is not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything that you want, you already are. And with that being said, thank you for watching this video. I truly do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I trust you'll give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more content just like this one. So, how did you like today's video, and what video would you like to see next? You let me know in the comment section down below. I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Toodles.